Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Dr. Ray and you have found yourself on my channel. On this channel we do a lot of fun things pet related, and so today we're going to be reviewing by request the food Yumwoof. We're going to jump on into it. We're not going to dilly-dally. The website is missing some information, but one of our wonderful friends here on the channel did procure that information for us, and so we can finally do a complete review on Yumwoof. So hop on over to their website, which is yumwoof.com. And then what we are going to be looking at today is their perfect superfood. It says that they are veterinarian and chef design recipes, and they are as good for your dog as they are delicious. You'll love our healthy human grade ingredients. We skip the fillers. So already there's a little bit of marketing there, which is fine as long as the food actually stacks up and meets the requirements of what we are looking for. And so what are we looking for? We are looking for the nutrients, okay? We want to make sure that the food actually has a good firm foundation before we start looking at some of the superfluous things, because there's no reason to feed a food that is human grade or has no fillers if it still does not meet the nutrient requirements that your pet needs. It's just as useless as some of the other diets that you guys are worried about. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be using my pet food scoring system. If you're new to this channel, I do have a video dedicated on that. It's a scoring system that helps you evaluate the nutritional the key nutrient factors that are important to develop a firm foundation. And then you can start getting creative after that. All those numbers come from this textbook here, which is Small Animal Clinical Nutrition. A link to that is in the description box as well. And in the description box, you will find other things, other useful, helpful links to my website. So you can check that out, where I have a lot of cheat sheets on foods where we break down the PSS system, links to various guides that I have, like a weight loss guide, a grief guide. Pretty soon there'll be a puppy starter guide, and so all that is on there, as well as a link to my little workbook that goes over a lot of the information that we will be talking about, like calculating resting energy requirement, as well as the life stage specific nutrient requirements. So be sure to check that out. So as we get into superfoods, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the shop now. The information they told us, there are three diets. There's the meat lovers diet, the wild caught fish, and the low fat turkey. We will do all three today. The information was that all the diets have pretty similar profiles. So starting with the meat lovers, let's scroll down. A lot of this is marketing, okay? A lot of this is marketing. You can see how far we have to scroll to get past the marketing to get to what we actually need. So we will not be using the guaranteed analysis. We are going to be using the full nutritional data. This information is on a dry matter basis. We do not want the information that is as fed, because as fed contains moisture, and different foods have different moisture contents. Again, if you need clarification on that, I do have some other videos, and it is in the workbook as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the meat version. I will pop up on the screen here the nutrient parameters that we are going to be shooting for as we go through this food. Now, before we get way too far into that, let's start with the scoring system. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that the food is for the correct life stage. And so right here you see the AFCO seal. That stands for the Association of American Feed Control Officials. They regulate the label claims, okay? They're not a nutrition driven body. They set what is legally appropriate to put on a label. They police the label, not the nutrition that is in the bag. So it is very important to understand that. Yes, they do list minimums that the food needs to maintain. They do not want to sell a food that is deficient, but they don't care if a food is excess, okay? They are only ensuring that a food meets the minimum nutrient requirements, because they don't want a food to be labeled as complete and balanced and it actually be deficient. However, we know, especially those of you that have been hanging out with me for a while, is there is an optimal range. And so going over optimal levels can be just as bad or just as deleterious as going too low. But AAFCO, that is not their job. So they do not do that. That is why I want you guys to get good at paying attention to what is in the recommended optimal nutritional ranges and not focus on AAFCO. However, getting back to what we're looking for, AAFCO does make sure that each food is labeled appropriately for the appropriate life stage. We want one that is appropriate for our pet. So if it's a puppy, we want the AAFCO statement to say puppy. Adult, adult. Unfortunately, I'm seeing here already that Yumwoof, Perfect C, Superfood, all the formulas, I'm assuming, are formulated to meet the nutritional levels established by AAFCO, so they meet the AAFCO minimums for all life stages. So that means that all these foods are a puppy food. And when that happens, sometimes we will see that it is an over-supplementation, over-ideal for an adult. So they've already lost a point there. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the food is not raw, because raw does carry some specific health concerns, both human and pet related. And so I don't recommend that unless this is being very closely monitored by your veterinarian and recommended, and you're working closely with them. And so for the general population, I do not recommend raw feeding. The other thing that we want to avoid is grain-free because of the implications there with the heart disease. Now, if you are not familiar with that controversy on heart disease, there is a community post that you can navigate to with all the data and research. To date, a pretty exhaustive list of some papers that you can read, but just to give you guys the synopsis here, there is some issues with the quantity of legumes. Not that there are legumes, because I am getting that question a lot. It's not that the presence of the legumes is the problem. It is the quantity of the legumes used in grain-free diets that are causing the problem. And so they are going to lose a point here because this is a grain-free diet. At least the meat one is. And let's go through, as we go through all of them, we'll be able, hopefully, let's try the wild caught fish, scroll down, all past all the superfluous stuff. Yeah, I think they're all going to be grain-free. The picture is not changing, but I do believe they are all going to be grain-free. So they are going to lose a point there. So far we are only at 1 point because we lost a point for the AAFCO statement, and we have lost a point because it is grain-free. Okay, yeah, let's get into the nutrient analysis, and then we will check the calorie content as well. Let's just go there. Actually, we're there now, so let's just go there really quick. So they're all about 659. They're pretty high caloric density, which means that you will have to feed less cups to get what you need for your pet. They're still around the 4,000, so we don't need to do any conversions, but we are quite a few kcal per cup. So I know some of you out there are interested in a highly caloric dense food, so this might be something for you guys. Let's go to a 20-pound dog, 0.6 cups. Let's put that in there really quick. Again, if you are not familiar with how to calculate this, videos, workbook, check those out, and that will help you. If you don't want to calculate, there's also some graphics in there to help you do that. So let's go to, what did we say it was? 600, and they're all about 600, 693. So let's do 693 because that's the highest times. Yeah, that's going to be good. So they are going to be correct in that. So they are going to get a point there. So we're going into the nutrient analysis with 2 points. So ideally, I like these foods to score a 7, 8, 9, or 10. So we need at least 5 points, which means all the nutrient parameters have to make it if this food is going to stack up to optimal nutritional levels. So let's see what we can find. Fatty acids, no, we don't want that. We want, we're looking for 5 key nutrient factors. We're looking for the protein, the fat, the fiber, the calcium, and the phosphorus. That's what you want at bare bones. You want to make sure that we are, at least meeting those marks before you get into some of the other things. Example, one of the other things that you may use on your secondary approach is the vitamin E. Right here, it's vitamin E 56.09 international units per kilogram. So that's pretty wimpy. You need to be at least 500 to get the real good antioxidant effects from vitamin E. The reason why they are probably really wimpy on the vitamin E was one of these marketing things that I saw here earlier. yeah, 100% natural vitamins and minerals. So unfortunately, when you don't add a synthetic vitamin pack, you are going to see in a lot of these foods that they are suboptimal on vitamin E. You know, in order to do that, you do need to add some synthetics to your diet. So I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, synthetic vitamins are so bad, don't use synthetics. If you don't use synthetics, you're going to have to accept the trade-off that you're not going to probably get that 500 vitamin E level to really get the antioxidant effects. And so you really need to think about that. Is that a good thing? In my opinion, no, it's not a good thing. If you are so set on not using synthetics that you are providing a suboptimal product, you know, I don't see the point in that. The point in that is marketing, because they want to draw you in with that, oh, we don't use synthetics, but they are leaving out the bit of important information is we don't use synthetics, therefore you're not getting the antioxidant effects of vitamin E like some of these other brands that do actually use some synthetics on top of the natural. You know, just because a company uses synthetic vitamins doesn't mean that it doesn't have natural in there as well. They want you to think that, but you know, a lot of them probably are bringing to the table this 56 something in that category, and then they're adding on top of it. So that would be part of the second line approach. There's no points for that. Here we've got the calcium and phosphorus. Both of these are going to be over for the adult dog, so they're not going to get any points for calcium and phosphorus. I am not seeing, let's go here to the guaranteed analysis. I was told that all the information was on the website. It does not look like it is, but we'll just go over here. And again, this is why we don't like to use the guaranteed analysis. I guess I should have paid more attention. I was under the impression from the email exchange that this information was on here, but it is a minimum, so we don't know if it goes over, okay? But anyway, the dry matter analysis, crude protein at 37 is going to be appropriate for adult. The fat at 18 is going to be appropriate, and the fiber at 5 is going to be appropriate. So they're going to get 3 points there plus the 2 points, and so it's going to bring the meat and lovers up to a 5, which again is not, you know, I want to push more. I want more for you guys. I would have liked the calcium and the phosphorus to be on point. And I would have liked it to be for the correct life stage. But when you're making a food that is appropriate for a puppy, that's going to have more calcium and phosphorus. So that is the issue with all life stage foods. And so, you know, that could be, if you're not into all these numbers, you know, you can simply look at a food. If it's all life stage, there's a good chance that it is going to be over supplementing for an adult. When we get into the turkey, I was... again, minimum 38%, that's going to be okay. Fat is okay, so we're up to 2 points. Fiber is okay, we're at 3 points. And then when we go down to the full nutrient data on the, again, vitamin E is even lower on this one. Calcium is still in excess at 1.19. Phosphorus is in excess at 1.18. So again, this is going to score a 5. And then the last one that we have on the superfoods is the wild caught fish feast. So we are good again on the protein. We are good in the fat, although it's 19%. We could do some calculations. No, we can't do some calculations because it's a minimum, and so it could be over that. We just don't know. If it is over, they would lose another point there. I don't think it's going to matter. Fiber, 5%. So we're going to give them 3 points there, which is going to bring it up to a 5. And then if it follows suit with the other diets, it is probably going to be over on the calcium and phosphorus as well. And even higher here, calcium at 1.46 is over, and phosphorus at nearly 1 is over. And so I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, but Dr. Ray, I mean, it's such a good diet. It's hypoallergenic. It's air dried. You know, it's not extruded. They are 85% hypoallergenic USDA meats. They're non-GMO whole foods. All that stuff is great, and I want all that stuff for you guys, but I want all that stuff for you guys in addition to complete nutrient profile. So you can have all those things. You certainly can have all those things, but you need to make sure that the base of the food, the calcium, the phosphorus, the fiber, the fat, and the protein levels are on point. Those are really simple things. Those are all things that, you know, I think any company should be able to do. We're not talking about really obscure minerals like magnesium and things like that. We're talking about the big players here. And so, yes, I want you to have all those things that you want, but please find a food that meets the nutrient, you know, profiles first. I am not saying that, yes, this company company does not go above and beyond to do some of these other things. Absolutely they do. That's wonderful. However, it would have been a good diet if they actually met the nutrient profiles. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will hang out with me again and like and subscribe and check out some of the other tools on my website. And yeah, I will hang out with you guys